In this video, I'm going to be sharing 3 of the myths you need to stop believing if you're in your 50s and you want to get into fantastic shape. Let's dive into what those 3 things are now. Number 1, you need to start off on a 1200 calorie diet. Here's why that's not a great idea. If you're needing to lose anywhere between 20 and 50 pounds plus, that's going to probably take you 12 to maybe 30 weeks or more. So the chances are over that period of time, you are going to plateau at some point. So if you start off on 1200 calories, what do? Do you go down to 1100, 1000, below 1000? Problem with that is you're going to start to starve yourself. In addition to that, if you're trying to exercise as well, you're not going to have the energy to be able to exercise. So what's an alternative to this first myth? Well, the alternative is to decide what your goal weight's going to be in stone and then into pounds. So let's say, for example, your goal weight is 10 stone. We equate that into, or we change that into pounds, that's 140 pounds. 140 pounds, multiply that by 12, that will give you 1,680 calories. Now you may be thinking, Eric, that's incredibly high amount of calories to be taken on board. I'll never lose weight with that amount of food intake. Chances are you're probably eating more than that right now anyway. So I would suggest you start off there as a start for 10, run with that for a week, check the scales. If you see the weight coming down, chances are you can probably stick with this for at least 6 to 12 weeks, maybe even longer, and see your weight continually come down. If the weight doesn't come down after the first 7 days, then maybe look to shave off another 100, 150 calories, run with that for 7 days, and keep doing that until you start to see the weight coming off. But 1200 calorie is not a great starting place for any woman in her 50s. Myth number 2 is that you have to do 10,000 steps a day and you have to be in the gym 5 days a week or even more than that. And the reality is most people will not have the time to do 10,000 steps in a day. Why? It's going to take you anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours a day to do that. And most people haven't got that available time to do that amount of steps in. So my recommendation is to aim for something more like maybe 3, possibly 5,000 steps a day or every other day, and on weekend maybe you walk a little bit further. When it comes to exercise in terms of doing weight training, my recommendation is to do anywhere between 3, maybe 4 sessions a week resistance training, but 3 is a good starter for 10. And you can start off with resistance bands, light weights, kettlebells, but something light so you can get your form correct, so you can get into the habit, you don't stress your body, you don't pick up silly injuries. Then once you're more comfortable with what you're doing, then you can look to increase your activity weights and intensity levels. But there's no need to start off on 10,000 steps, and there's no need to be in the gymnasium 5, 6, 7 days a week in order to get yourself into great shape. Now, before I share the 3rd myth with you, just to let you know, below this video, if you click on it, there's a link to my free online boost weight loss assessment. Answer a few simple questions and it'll give you a personalized report to help kickstart your mindset, your diet and your exercise. Okay, so what's myth number 3? Myth number 3 when it comes to losing weight that you need to stop believing is that you need to be highly motivated to lose weight. And here's the reality, certainly in my experience, there are 2 times you need to be highly motivated. The first time is to pick up the phone and speak to somebody like me, potentially. And the second time is to turn up for a session to someone like me, potentially. After that, the motivation that's required to do whatever that coach lays out for you, or that slimming club, or that gym, whatever it is that you've chosen to do, should require minimal level of motivation, i.e. up to about a level 5 as a maximum. Why do I say that? I say that because if you're required to do activities that need you to be highly motivated, like an 8, 9 or a 10, you are going to fatigue after a few weeks, possibly a few months, versus doing activities that are relatively low, that require relatively low levels of motivation. So for example, something I said earlier about 10,000 steps. If you're trying to do 10,000 steps a day, I would suggest that requires a high level of motivation versus doing maybe 3,000 steps every other day might require a level 5 in terms of motivation. Similarly, when it comes to eating healthily, rather than going for some crazy low diet that's going to require you to be so super motivated to stay low, let's say 1200 calories, instead of that, increase the calorie intake and make it so doable that it's about a level 5. Because when you're operating at a level 5 consistently throughout your weight loss journey, you're going to be way more successful because you're not going to be burning yourself out mentally and emotionally. If you try and operate at a higher level than that, I can guarantee you, give it a few weeks, max a few months, and you will crash and burn. Now, in my next video, I'm going to speak about something relating to the weight loss journey specifically and the emotional ups and downs of weight loss. So if that video is on screen now, click on that. If it's not, make sure you subscribe so you can be notified when I release that next video.